Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you are joining us today, chances are you are standing at a critical juncture in your professional life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're in a seemingly stable corporate role, but you have this nagging feeling,
Yeah.
that the floor beneath you is shifting.
Or the opposite.
Right, or maybe you're already in the gig economy. You love the freedom, but you are terrified of the volatility.
Absolutely. The feast or famine cycle.
Because right now, the professional world isn't just evolving. It feels like it's experiencing a foundational, a structural break.
It is.
We've pulled together a fascinating stack of sources. It's a high-level forecast for the professional landscape. And, well, it amounts to a strategic survival guide for the next few years.
And specifically focused on 2026.
Exactly. What life looks like by 2026.
Yeah.
Our topic today is that monumental clash between the flexible, fragmented gig economy and the stable, hierarchical corporate structure.
We talk about them like they're two different planets.
We do. We talk about them as two separate tracks, but our sources show they are merging, colliding, and really redefining what work even means.
Completely.
Our mission today is sharp, to extract the most essential insights. We want to figure out which model gig or corporate or maybe which blend of them offers the superior path.
For long-term resilience.
For long-term economic resilience and, individual prosperity in the coming years. This is about making tactical, well-informed choices today for the world of 2026.
It really is.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Work is being dismantled and rebuilt in real time.
And that concept of dismantling is key. I mean, the forecasts we reviewed, they make it abundantly clear this is no longer a conversation about which option you prefer.
No.
It's about which option provides the infrastructure for your professional survival.
That's a strong word, survival.
It is, because for the longest time, preference, the desire for stability versus the desire for freedom, that dominated the conversation.
Sure, what kind of person are you?
Right. But 2026, it demands raw pragmatism, because the central dynamic is this blurring of lines. We are moving away from two distinct models
And toward what?
toward a complicated, integrated system where the individual worker, where you become the primary architect of your own stability.
You're in charge now.
You have to be. So our goal in this deep dive is to move past the surface trends, past all the headlines about remote work, and give you clarity on the underlying structural changes.
The real mechanics of it.
Exactly. We want to show you where the wealth accrual is happening, where stability is being redefined, and most importantly, what essential skills you must cultivate to thrive in this hyper-modular environment.
Because the alternative is.
Ignoring these changes is a direct route to professional obsolescence. It's that serious.
Okay, so to truly understand this battle, we first have to recognize that the battlefield itself has been, it's been broken up and scattered.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with this idea our sources call the Great Unbundling. It's the fracturing of the traditional career model.
And it's such a great term for it.
It is. For the better part of a century, the career formula was, a package deal.
One size fits all.
Totally. You had one singular employer. That employer provided one paycheck, and you moved along one linear hierarchical career ladder.
Up the silo.
Up the silo. That entire bundle is now being dismantled. It's like, it's like taking a full cable TV package, which includes 50 channels you don't watch,
Right.
and transforming it into these highly specific, configurable streaming subscriptions. The individual worker is pulling apart the professional contract and deciding which pieces they actually want to subscribe to.
That analogy holds up perfectly because the control has shifted. The organizational model used to dictate that structure, but technological and logistical breakthroughs are now handing that control to the individual.
It's bottom up now, not top down.
Precisely. By 2026, we see specific, tangible manifestations of this unbundling that are now foundational, not exceptional.
Okay, like what?
The first is that remote-first teams are standard. And this is not temporary work from home. This is foundational organizational design.
So the company is built with the assumption that you're not in the office.
Yes. The structure is built around the assumption that physical proximity is secondary to digital output.
And the organizational impact of that is huge. When physical presence is secondary, it fundamentally decentralizes the power structure of the traditional corporation.
Oh, completely.
Middle management who used to rely on proximity and, visibility to manage, they lose a lot of institutional power.
Their job changes overnight.
Their job is no longer to watch you work, but to manage deliverables and coordinate asynchronous efforts across different time zones.
So the company has to shift its entire culture to one based on radical trust and high accountability.
Because they can't physically verify inputs.
Right. And this automatically changes the nature of the employment contract, making output and measurable results the only things that truly matter.
Which leads directly to your second point.
That leads directly to the second manifestation. AI assistants are embedded into daily workflows, and this is where the conversation needs to move beyond just, simple automation.
We're talking augmentation.
We are talking augmentation. If your AI assistant handles scheduling, drafting preliminary communication, synthesizing research data, cleaning up your spreadsheets, what is left for the human worker?
The interesting stuff.
The interesting high-value stuff. The human worker's value is pushed entirely up the cognitive stack. You are no longer paid to execute rote, process-driven tasks. The AI does that faster and with fewer errors.
Your value shifts to what?
Your value shifts solely to high-level strategy, solving complex, novel problems that require synthesis across disparate fields, and critically, emotional intelligence and managing human relationships.
The things AI can't replicate.
Exactly.
That is the essential pivot. It's not about avoiding AI, it's about operating above the AI. If the AI is the engine, the human becomes the sophisticated driver setting the destination.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And this ability to choose your destination is amplified by the third manifestation. Physical offices are optional, not the default.
Right. The office is a tool, not a requirement.
Offices still exist, yes, but primarily for collaboration sprints, team building, specific strategic meetings, things like that.
Which allows workers, regardless of their employment status, to optimize their geography.
This is huge. If I can charge San Francisco rates, but live in a market with a significantly lower cost of living, I have instantly created a massive economic arbitrage advantage for myself.
A huge one. And if we look at the common thread running through all these changes, remote first, AI augmentation, optional offices,
What is it?
it's that they validate the idea that skills matter infinitely more than your corporate title. The traditional system relied on the title to signal institutional knowledge. Now, if your skills are portable, your value is portable. The structure itself is changing from linear to modular.
Explain that. Linear versus modular.
A linear career means you start at analyst and move predictably up to VP, constrained by that single company's org chart.
The latter.
The latter. A modular career, however, is built with blocks, specialized skill sets, networks, income streams that you can assemble, rearrange, and stack from different clients or different companies. You are no longer bound to a single track.
And the sources give a really compelling example of this hybrid identity that's becoming common by 2026. Think of the worker who is simultaneously a full-time employee at a tech company. They take that job for the health benefits, the predictable salary, the 401k match.
The stability module.
The stability module, exactly. While also acting as a specialized consultant on a specific 3-month contract for a niche specialization they excel at.
The high income module.
And on top of that, they run a popular newsletter or course related to their expertise, the creator economy component.
For passive income and brand building.
Right. That individual is actively managing 3 separate revenue streams and 3 distinct professional identities. They're a diversified risk portfolio in human form.
What's fascinating here is this modularity hands substantial power back to the specialized worker, directly setting the stage for this corporate gig clash.
Because you can pick and choose.
When the work is unbundled, the worker can decide which pieces they want. Do I take the corporate bundle with its robust but limited structure? Or do I take the gig bundle, which offers high flexibility and unlimited income, but requires I assemble my own safety net?
And the implication for you, the listener, is that you are now compelled to become the CEO of your own career.
Your own professional infrastructure. You can no longer passively rely on an employer for stability, training, guidance. You must actively monitor market trends, manage risk across those modules, and ensure continuous personal relevance.
Which begs the central question then. Is the traditional 9-to-5 dead?
The sources hint at a modified survival. The old, rigid, mandatory office 5 days a week, hierarchical 9-to-5, that is critically endangered, if not already extinct, in high-skill knowledge sectors.
So to survive, it has to change.
To survive, the corporate model must incorporate flexibility, remote options, personalized career tracks, which is exactly what we see happening later on. But the fundamental structure of a dedicated employee, that remains a necessary piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so let's shift our focus squarely to the gig side now. And we need to distinguish the current state from the early days of the gig economy.
Gig economy 1.0.
Exactly. That was focused largely on low-skill, on-demand labor. The 2026 gig economy, what we're calling the gig golden age for specialists, is gig economy 2.0.
It's a different animal entirely.
This isn't about driving or basic task fulfillment. It's about top-tier, specialized professional expertise being delivered on demand.
Right. Companies are now accessing hyper-specialized talent that they either can't afford to hire full-time or, frankly, just don't need 52 weeks a year.
So the sources identified a critical list of these high-skill gigs that are just exploding.
They are, and it's happening precisely because the corporate process of internal hiring is too slow and too generalist.
I can't keep up.
Think about areas like software development, UX and product design, advanced data analysis, high-level marketing strategy. When a company needs a system overhaul or a complete brand pivot, they need specialized expertise now.
And bringing in a fractional specialist is faster.
It's faster, often higher quality because that person only specializes in that one thing. And it's cheaper in the long run than carrying the full-time overhead of salary, benefits, and training.
And we see two emerging specializations that illustrate this perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
First, AI model training and ethical deployment auditing. This is a brand new, complex field demanding highly specialized cognitive labor. It's project-based, highly technical, and commands massive rates.
It's something that didn't really exist as a widespread job 5 years ago.
Not at all. And second, and maybe most fascinating, is the rise of the fractional executive.
We need to be clear on the difference here.
Right. An interim CMO is usually filling a seat temporarily with the intention of being replaced by a full-timer.
A place.
A fractional CMO, however, is hired specifically to work, say, 10, 20 hours a week for a defined period, 6 to 9 months, to design the entire marketing department, hire the team, establish the metrics, and then move on.
The fractional executive model is a symptom of the modular career. It lets a mid-sized company or a scaling startup inject decades of strategic experience without the $500,000 plus salary and equity commitment.
And the executive gets what they want.
The executive gets to manage multiple client portfolios and operate at the strategic level they enjoy without the endless corporate meetings and politics.
And the core driver behind this whole exodus of specialized talent is, without question,
Autonomy.
autonomy. It's not just about money, though that is a factor.
No.
It's about demanding control over your professional life. A control the corporate structure, even in its most flexible form, cannot fully replicate.
And that autonomy is multidimensional, isn't it?
It is. The gig worker controls their schedule, not just when they take vacation, but the structure of their entire week. They control their clients so they can say no to toxic environments. They control their geographic location, solidifying that arbitrage opportunity.
And, most significantly, they control their income ceilings. This is where the contrast with the corporate path is stark.
In what way?
A corporate salary, even an excellent one, is always capped by internal compensation bands, budgets, layers of bureaucracy. A specialized gig worker's income is limited only by their ability to generate high-quality output, manage their client pipeline, and continuously raise their rates based on market demand.
It's a purely performance-driven model, which is why top performers often gravitate toward it.
Absolutely. If you believe your performance exceeds the institutional average, the gig economy offers you a direct mechanism to capitalize on that self-belief.
Okay, but now we get to the counterbalance.
Now, here is the crucial counterbalance, yes.
Yeah.
The shadow that falls across this golden age.
That autonomy comes at a cost.
It comes at the cost of intense systemic volatility. The gig model, powerful as it is, remains fundamentally unfinished, particularly regarding institutional protection.
So by 2026, the biggest unresolved issue is the lack of a standardized safety net.
Exactly. We see 4 specific challenges that create massive structural risk, even for high earners.
Okay, let's break them down. First up, income instability.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are charging, say, $300 an hour, client churn is a fact of life. Contracts end, clients delay payment, projects dry up.
A salaried employee takes home the same amount on the 1st and the 15th every single month. A contractor might have 3 incredible months, followed by 2 months where cash flow slows to a trickle.
And without meticulous financial discipline, that can be psychologically and economically devastating.
Compounding this is the debilitating lack of employer-sponsored healthcare and standardized retirement structures.
There's the big ones.
In markets where health coverage is primarily tied to employment, the gig worker has to dedicate significant time and resources, not just money, but emotional bandwidth to sourcing and managing private plans.
It's a part-time job in itself.
It is. We are talking about dedicating 20% or more of your gross income to services that a corporate employee receives pre-tax, often subsidized. This drastically reduces the net benefit of that high-income ceiling.
So you're not just the expert. You're your own benefits administrator, your own HR department, your own legal counsel.
All of it. And finally, there is the weak bargaining power at scale. While a fractional executive has strong individual negotiation power, the general population of gig workers often operates on platforms that dictate terms unilaterally.
And those terms can shift overnight.
Overnight, exposing the worker to unpredictable risks that they cannot collectively bargain against.
And this structural weakness is why we're seeing all these policy and legal battles around gig worker classification.
Exactly. It's why this is accelerating as we head toward 2026. Governments and legal systems are caught in a definitional fight. Are these people employees entitled to protections? Or are they independent businesses responsible for their own welfare?
What's the core analogy they're using?
The core analogy in these fights is this. Is a worker using a platform merely a small business owner leveraging new technology to find clients? Or are they effectively a traditional employee whose workplace is being remotely micromanaged by an algorithm?
And that legal distinction, W-2 employee versus 1099 contractor, that is the line where billions of dollars in benefits and protections lie.
Everything hinges on it.
If jurisdictions force companies to classify more workers as employees, the cost structure of the gig economy changes entirely.
It could increase security for the worker, but it could also decrease the flexibility and increase the cost for the platform.
But if they are confirmed as independent contractors, the volatility and risk remain high for the worker.
The outcome of these policy battles will fundamentally determine the long-term economic resilience of the gig model. If comprehensive, portable benefit structures are successfully implemented.
Like through tax-friendly retirement accounts or platform contributions to health funds.
Right. If that happens, then the volatility risk drops significantly. But until then, the model is dynamic, profitable for the specialized few, but structurally unfinished and high risk for the masses.
So we've established that the gig world offers massive autonomy, huge income potential, but carries this immense burden of volatility and protection gaps.
A huge trade-off.
Which brings us to the counterpoint, the corporate structure. It's easy to assume the corporation is, a stagnant behemoth just watching its best talent walk out the door.
But our sources suggest that's not the whole story.
Not at all. They are adapting and doing so with surprising speed and sophistication, precisely to compete with gig flexibility.
Which is where it gets really interesting.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They are reinventing themselves from the inside to compete for talent by offering something the gig economy currently cannot.
And what is that?
Security with optionality. They realize they cannot win the talent war just by offering more base salary. They have to offer a better life infrastructure.
They are essentially trying to cannibalize the best features of the gig economy and internalize them.
How so?
Look at the specific, aggressive adaptations leading corporations are implementing. Hybrid and remote-first roles are the absolute baseline. That's just table stakes now.
Right, but they're going further.
Much further into labor optimization. Many are implementing 4-day work weeks. Sometimes it's compressed into 4 10-hour days, or increasingly, a straight 32-hour week with the full 40-hour salary.
And that's a direct competitive response to the gig workers' ability to structure their time.
It is. The data shows that concentrated focus and improved work-life balance often lead to better performance outcomes than mandatory 5-day office presence.
And crucially, they are shifting their measurement system away from time and attendance. They are moving away from inputs, how many hours you spent logged in, and toward outputs.
Results-based performance metrics are becoming the norm.
Right. If you deliver the required outcome, the product ships, the campaign meets its KPI, the how and when become irrelevant. This fundamentally mimics the core accountability of the gig economy, but within the security of a guaranteed paycheck.
And this shift validates personalized career tracks.
So instead of that single rigid ladder.
Right. Employees might be rewarded for lateral movement, developing expertise in adjacent departments, or specializing deeply in a technical track without having to take on management responsibilities.
It gives the worker internal optionality and the continuous learning that gig work demands.
But perhaps the most radical and potent adaptation in this corporate comeback is the creation of internal talent marketplaces.
This is the corporation's direct institutional answer to the allure of the fractional, specialized gig worker.
It is. Imagine a massive corporation that needs an internal expert in, Say, designing a specific API for a new product.
A very specific short-term need.
Instead of hiring an external consultant, which is costly and slow, or assigning it to a full-time employee who may not be skilled up, they post the project internally on a dedicated platform.
So employees can apply for these short-term assignments, often outside their department, for a specified duration, say 15 hours a week for 8 weeks. It's internal consulting.
It allows the employee to move between projects and departments internally, like a consultant, gaining exposure and new skills, often with a project bonus, but critically without ever forfeiting their core corporate security blanket.
That mechanism is powerful, however. Here's where we introduce some critical friction. Is an internal marketplace really autonomy?
Or is it just corporate micromanagement dressed up as choice?
Exactly. The company still retains all the power to approve or deny your application, and your existing managers still have to sign off. It's autonomy within guardrails.
True. But the sources argue that even bounded choice is superior to no choice at all. It satisfies that modern workers' craving for novelty and control while mitigating the volatility risk completely.
And the company benefits immensely.
Oh, massively. They reduce reliance on expensive external contracting, they retain institutional knowledge, and they increase employee engagement and skill diversification.
And even with these adaptations, corporations still hold several irreplaceable structural advantages that the gig economy just can't replicate easily.
Not in its current unfinished state, no.
Right.
These advantages are centered around predictability and scale.
Predictable income remains the anchor. That steady, biweekly direct deposit provides immense mental security.
It's what allows you to get a mortgage.
Right. It lets you plan a stable life and eliminates the enormous mental overhead of chasing late invoices. This mental security is arguably the highest value benefit a corporation offers.
And the employer-sponsored benefits, subsidized health care, life insurance, formalized retirement structures are massive advantages. They simplify the complexities of financial planning.
They offload critical life risk from the individual to the institution. For a large portion of the working population, this simplification is non-negotiable.
Moreover, the institutional framework offers two other critical advantages. First, structured skill development. Corporations have dedicated budgets and mandates for training and certifications.
They actively invest in your future.
They do, often resulting in higher quality recognized credentials than a gig worker might acquire haphazardly through self-funding.
And second,
The long-term career signaling. While skills trump titles, long-term tenure at a reputable brand-name corporation still signals institutional expertise, risk management ability, and stability to the wider market.
especially in certain industries like finance or government.
Absolutely, that signal is valuable currency.
And we cannot forget scale. The ability to execute tasks at a massive scale, building a global supply chain, managing multi-continental regulatory compliance.
Things individual gig workers simply cannot do.
Right. That requires the coordination and resources that only a large, unified organization can command.
So the new corporate value proposition is incredibly resilient. They are no longer selling outdated concepts like lifetime loyalty.
What are they selling?
They are selling security with optionality. They are saying, we give you the safety net, the benefits, and the scale, but we will also let you pursue internal gigs, work remotely, and structure your time for optimal results.
Is a hybrid offering.
A hybrid offering that ensures the corporate model remains a powerful competitor to the gig economy.
You've spent this deep dive detailing the structural changes within both camps, but here is the critical insight from the most comprehensive forecasts.
The big reveal.
The future is not gig versus corporate. It is gig plus corporate. It's an integration. The idea that the workforce is cleanly divided into two camps is obsolete.
By 2026, the dominant reality is the blended workforce. The distinction between a dedicated employee and an external contractor is increasingly porous, fluid, and often managed by the same individual.
This is more than a theory. It's a strategy we see executed daily in successful professional portfolios. We see full-time employees deliberately freelancing on the side.
And not just for extra spending money.
No, explicitly for building optionality.
Yeah.
This is the hedge fund approach to career management.
So if the corporate job suddenly vanishes, that individual already has active clients, a rate sheet, operational infrastructure, a reputation established outside the main corporate firewall.
They can immediately scale up the side hustle to a primary income source with zero downtime. it's risk management.
Pure risk management. It replaces corporate loyalty.
And conversely, we see highly successful specialized gig workers contracting with multiple corporations simultaneously. They're managing portfolio careers,
Their income stream is deliberately diversified across 3 or 4 companies.
which minimizes their risk exposure. If one client pauses a project, they simply increase their hours with the others. They have created redundancy in their income source.
Something a single employee lacks entirely.
And this shift is so pronounced that companies are explicitly restructuring their teams to integrate this blend. They are formalizing the structure of the blended workforce.
Yes. Companies are segmenting their workforce into 3 distinct formal categories. And you, the listener, need to identify which segment you want to occupy and how to manage transitions between them.
Because the rules of engagement are completely different for each.
Completely.
So segment 1 is the core employees.
These are your essential, high-trust personnel who hold institutional knowledge, manage regulated systems, or require long-term organizational allegiance, the people running the ship.
And they get the full package, full benefits, 401k match, the new flexible corporate structure. They get prioritized for that internal talent marketplace.
Exactly. Then you have segment 2.
The long-term contractors.
These are high-skill individuals filling roles that are predictable and sustained, but where the company desires flexibility over a long-term employment commitment.
Like a dedicated infrastructure engineer who works 30 hours a week on a product for 2 years.
Precisely. They operate on annual or multi-year contracts, are treated almost like employees regarding access, but crucially, they are 1099 contractors. They have to manage their own insurance, taxes, and retirement.
And then segment 3.
The on-demand specialists. These are the classic high-rate gig workers. They are brought in for a surgical, specific skill set for a defined short period.
Like a 3-week emergency security audit.
Or 6 months to lead a complex data migration. They are paid premium rates for their specialization and temporary nature, and the company views them as pure cost of goods sold.
Almost no long-term commitment.
The implication of this blended reality for the listener is immense. It raises the essential question: which segment best supports your current life goals?
And how do you acquire the skills to move strategically between them?
Because to navigate this environment, the worker must internalize that they are a business, even if they hold a W-2 paycheck. You need a new, specialized skill set that blends entrepreneurial savvy with corporate performance.
Okay, let's list them. First, strong self-management. That's non-negotiable.
If you are a blended worker, you are managing multiple schedules, multiple deliverable timelines across different platforms, often multiple communication styles. You need extreme discipline.
To avoid burnout and maintain quality across employers who have competing demands for your attention.
Second, aggressive personal brand building. In the gig economy, your brand is your resume. But even in the modern corporate world, your brand determines which internal projects you get selected for.
You have to constantly demonstrate and document your expertise. You can no longer rely on institutional structures to communicate your value for you.
Third, and this is where the necessary technical detail comes in, complex financial planning across multiple income streams.
This is where most aspiring blended workers fail, isn't it?
It is. It goes far beyond simple budgeting. If you hold a core W-2 job, your employer handles tax withholding. If you add a 1099 stream, you become the responsible party.
Which means setting aside estimated quarterly taxes. That could be a huge shock if you aren't prepared.
And learning how to calculate cash flow projections that account for payments that might be 30, 60, or even 90 days late.
You also have to manage diverse retirement vehicles, the traditional 401k from your full-time job, alongside a SEP IRA or a solo 401k from your gig work.
You're running a small firm executed by one person. And fourth, continuous reskilling to maintain relevance. The blended environment rewards relevance, not tenure.
You have to constantly learn the next valuable skill that technology cannot do.
Or learn to manage the technology better than your peers. This requires dedicated time and budget for learning. Your skills have to be refreshed every 2 to 3 years, not every 10.
So the key takeaway is absolute. The worker of 2026 is defined by adaptability, not a static job title. You have to be able to jump between those 3 segments, core, long-term, and on-demand seamlessly.
Depending on where the market opportunities and your personal life needs intersect.
We've mapped the landscape. Now, let's synthesize this into actionable, memorable strategies. If you are the learner, this is your 5-point strategic playbook for building a resilient career in this new environment.
Let's do it.
Strategy 1. Future-proof skills, not roles. Stop chasing impressive titles or rigid ladders within a single company. Instead, focus ruthlessly on capabilities that transfer across industries and platforms.
So you're maximizing your utility in that modular career structure.
Exactly. Think about skills that are universally in demand, regardless of your client. That means abstract skills like complex negotiation, multi-stakeholder strategic synthesis, cross-cultural communication.
Things that aren't tied to one specific piece of software.
Right. A skill like expert in a specific proprietary software is highly fragile. A skill like designing and executing enterprise-level digital transformation strategy is future-proof because it's a systemic problem that requires human synthesis.
Okay, strategy 2. Build optionality. We've talked about this as a reality, but you must make it a deliberate, planned strategy, even if you are currently 100% corporate.
Develop a secondary income stream,
Oh.
even a small one.
As a necessary hedge against volatility, this secondary stream forces you to hone the blended worker skills we just outlined: self-management, branding, financial planning.
It could be consulting for a nonprofit on the weekends.
Or teaching a niche class online, or monetizing expertise through a newsletter. The point is to establish the mechanisms for generating income outside of the single corporate paycheck.
If 2026 demands diversification, start building that diversification today.
Right.
Moving on. Strategy 3. Negotiate flexibility, not just salary. Our sources consistently highlight that location, hours, and project ownership are the new, highly valuable currencies.
Often mattering more in the long run than titles or even a small salary bump.
So if you are negotiating a job offer, prioritizing the right to work remote 2 days a week, or guaranteeing a 4-day week is arguably more valuable than a marginal pay increase.
Because flexibility directly supports your ability to manage that dual corporate gig optionality.
It reduces commuting overhead, frees up time for reskilling, and gives you geographic leverage. A job title bump only benefits you inside that one company. Flexibility benefits your entire professional ecosystem.
That leads to strategy 4. Track market demand continuously. This is critical because the gig economy rewards relevance in real time, not tenure, and corporate structures are quickly adopting this mentality.
You can't afford to rely on an annual performance review to tell you if your skills are valuable.
No. You need to know what similar specialists are being paid on the contract market. You need to know which skill certifications are expiring or becoming obsolete due to AI.
This requires continuous, proactive monitoring.
If you only track your value based on your current company's internal metrics, you risk falling into a relevance trap that is extremely difficult to escape later when volatility strikes. You need to know your external market rate at all times.
And finally, strategy 5, which really synthesizes everything we've covered. Think like an ecosystem architect.
You're designing a system.
Your career must function like a diversified, sophisticated portfolio, not a single bet placed on one company or one static role.
This involves deliberately designing a personalized system that balances the 4 core drivers of this new work economy.
Which are stability from your core income source,
Flexibility, gained through negotiated corporate terms or gig autonomy.
growth, secured through continuous reskilling and diversified projects,
And autonomy, your control over how and when you work. The worker of 2026 is no longer an employee. They are a manager of assets, their skills, their network, and their time.
and this requires proactively managing risk with the same rigor a financial manager applies to a multi-million-dollar fund.
Those who passively wait for their company to dictate their future will struggle. Those who actively design their own resilient ecosystem based on continuous adaptation will thrive. Hashtag tag Altidavro. So what does this all mean? Our deep dive into the 2026 forecast reveals a crucial, often overlooked truth. The real structural divide is not between gig workers and corporate employees.
What is it then?
It's between those who understand the monumental shift toward modularity and those who don't. The world of work is demanding sophisticated risk management from the individual. The future of work is not about choosing a side. It is about designing a highly blended, diversified system for yourself based on the principles of diversification, never putting all your professional eggs in one corporate basket, and continuous learning.
That is exactly right. Work will not look like it did in the past, and these structural changes, the remote-first mentality, the embedding of AI, the specialization of gigs, the corporate focus on optionality, these are permanent foundations.
There's no going back.
No. The old models of career management are obsolete. We've established that security is now being sold alongside optionality. That means the most valuable asset you have is your specialized, quantifiable, transferable skill set.
The unique expertise that can be unbundled and sold to multiple buyers.
So here is a provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider. If your career must now function as a set of valuable, marketable modules, what essential, high-level skill, currently housed and paid for within your current corporate job, that complex strategic thing you are uniquely good at, that only you solve, could you successfully unbundle, package, and sell independently today to start building your 2026 ecosystem?
What's that first module?
Figure out that first module and you start controlling your future, because the future isn't waiting for permission. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.